The 2004 NBA draft class wasn't quite up to par with the previous years in 2003, but really, did it ever stand a chance? And also, that doesn't mean that there wasn't good players that came out of this class. It just so happens, pick number 1 turned out to be the best out of them all. At the time he was drafted, Dwight Howard was the second consecutive number 1 pick to make the jump from high school straight to the NBA. And just like LeBron James, who was the top pick in the previous year's class, Howard would also go on to be a multiple-time All-Star, and most people believe he's going to be a Hall of Famer someday, including myself. Now, the Magic found themselves with the first overall pick here, and they were coming off a season where they went 21-61, finishing dead last in the Eastern Conference. Throughout that entire season, they had 5 different centers on the roster. Not a single one of them averaged more than 4 points per game. So it was pretty clear that the Magic needed some help in the paint, and they needed it badly. Also, Tracy McGrady was over here averaging 28 points per game, absolutely carrying this team for what? All for a last place finish in 2003. So coming into the draft, Dwight Howard seemed like a no-brainer pick for them. Not only did he seem like an amazing scorer, but he also had some good handles for a big man and could also spread the ball around. And forget about it on the defensive end. He was an amazing shot blocker, and there is a reason that he would go on to dress up as Superman in the dunk contest. His vertical was absolutely out of this world. Now, as a rookie, Howard immediately took over the starting center position for the Magic. He was able to quickly establish himself as one of the best big men in the league. In the 2008-2009 season, he had his best year during his time in Orlando, averaging 20.6 points, 13.8 rebounds, and 2.9 blocks per game, while shooting 57.2% from the field, leading the league in both rebounds and blocks per game in the regular season. He would also put the Magic on his back throughout the playoffs. In the first round, they took down the Sixers in 6 games. In the second round, they ran into a very tough Boston Celtics team, taking care of them in 7 games. And in the Eastern Conference Finals, they found themselves matched up against LeBron and the Cleveland Cavaliers, but Howard and the Magic were able to send them packing in 6 games. All of these previous matchups set them up to take on Kobe and Pau Gasol, who were clicking on all cylinders at the time. And despite Dwight averaging 15.4 points, 15.2 rebounds, and 4 blocks per game in the finals, the Magic ultimately came up short and were eliminated in 5 games. Things were going pretty smooth until his last season with Orlando started off with some controversy. With the season already shortened due to the lockout, Howard also demanded a trade to either the Nets, Lakers, or the Mavericks. While he did state that he wanted to stay in Orlando, he just wanted some star power around him to be able to compete with the rest of the teams in the league. This is kind of crazy to think about now because of all the super teams that we've seen since this time period. If Howard could have gone on to get another piece on that Magic team, who knows what would have happened. In the following offseason, he would not let off the gas, demanding a trade to the Nets and threatened even becoming a free agent if he didn't get traded. Well, he didn't end up getting onto the Nets, but he did find himself in LA, with the Lakers adding Howard along with Steve Nash to their already elite duo of Bryant and Gasol. Fans were hyped, thinking they could even take down the big 3 of LeBron, Wade, and Bosh that formed in the previous offseason in Miami. But despite how impressive they looked on paper, things did not go according to plan at all. Jalen Rose was with Bryant when the news of the deal broke, and he recounted the story saying, Kobe just got off the phone as he was talking to Dwight Howard and said, "This shit ain't gonna work." That's exactly what he said. This is before he even laced up with Dwight one time. His head ain't right. He said, "Mother effer, I'm here to help you get championships. You're asking me about producers?" Even though Dwight and Kobe clearly had some beef, Dwight would still perform well through the 2012-13 season, averaging 17.1 points, 12.4 rebounds, which led the league, and 2.4 blocks per game. Everybody knows it takes 2 to tango as well, so Dwight had some words about Kobe, saying, "You play with Kobe Bryant, you know, he's going to get them up. But at the same time, I have to find ways to still be effective. I can't allow that to affect how I play." There were a lot of times early in the season where I would get upset, because I felt like he shot the ball a lot. And I wanted some touches down low. Do I want touches? Yeah. But whatever I have to do to help this team win, I have to keep my mind in that area. It's mental. Now, I'm sure those locker room issues had something to do with them getting swept in the first round by the San Antonio Spurs that year, despite having arguably the most talented roster in the league on paper. I also have to say that Spurs team is criminally underrated. They were disgusting in the early 2010s. Like I said, somehow they're still underrated to this day. Now, he would move on from the team in the following offseason, signing with the Houston Rockets, pairing him with another elite shooting guard at the time in James Harden. In his first season with the Rockets, Howard would make it to his final All-Star game. In the 2016 offseason, he declined a $23 million player option, and he wanted to play for the Hawks, where he would sign a 3-year, $70 million deal. At this point, Howard was falling off a bit as a scorer, and they were bounced in 6 games by the Wizards in the first round of the playoffs. This Hawks team wasn't terrible, but they didn't stand a chance of winning it all, if you ask me. After that season with the Hawks, Howard would continue to bounce around, first to the Hornets, then to the Wizards, before eventually finding himself on the Lakers, where he got a chance because DeMarcus Cousins suffered a season-ending injury. Howard played a huge role in the Lakers' championship run in the 2019-20 season. They beat the Heat in 6 games, giving Dwight the first NBA title of his career. Surprisingly, the Lakers didn't even bring him back after that year, and he would sign with the 76ers to back up Embiid. He actually ended up finishing his career back with the Lakers in the 2021-22 season because Anthony Davis would be the one suffering a season-ending injury. After leaving the NBA, Howard would go on to play in the T1 League in Taiwan, where he's one of their best players. He's very highly respected over there, and while a return to the NBA seems pretty unlikely at this point in time, a lot of people still think he can make some noise as a backup big man for a contending team. Now, if he doesn't end up returning to the NBA, Howard has quite a few accomplishments under his belt, with an appearance on the 2004-2005 All-Rookie team, 8 All-Star appearances, 8 All-NBA selections, 5 All-Defensive selections, led the league in rebounds for 5 seasons, led the league in blocks for 2 seasons, won 1 NBA title, and has 3 Defensive Player of the Year awards. Up next at pick number 2, we had the Charlotte Bobcats on the clock, and over the next couple of seasons, it really seemed like nothing was going right for that franchise. All right, let's back it up a little bit. Emeka Okafor was far from the worst pick in the world at number 2. Scouts were thinking, okay, this guy can score around the basket, rebound, and defend the rim. He can do everything that we need him to do at the power forward or center position, wherever we want to put him. But the question mark is, what can this guy do outside of the paint? Because that's what's going to really decide if he's going to be truly a special player or not. Well, he got off to a hot start, taking over as the team's starting center to open up the season and averaging 15.1 points, 10.9 rebounds, and 1.7 blocks per game. He even won the Rookie of the Year award. So the Bobcats are over here thinking, damn, we really got a steal with this one. Unfortunately, he would begin to trend in the wrong direction throughout the rest of his career. After his 3rd year with the team, the front office wanted to make him the face of the franchise and re-signed him to a 6-year, $72 million deal, which seemed all fine and dandy at the time. But in the 2009 offseason, there were some serious concerns if Okafor was even right for the team, and the Bobcats chose to move on from him. He was traded to the Hornets, where he would actually make the playoffs for the first time in his career in the 2010-11 season. However, they were bounced in the first round by the Lakers in 6 games. In the 2012 offseason, Okafor was traded to the Wizards, but tragedy would strike soon after, and he would miss the following 4 seasons due to a herniated disc in his neck. During this stretch of his career, he was traded to the Phoenix Suns for Marcin Gortat. While being out of the league for this much time would almost be a guaranteed death sentence for any player's career, Okafor was able to make a return to the game in the 2017-18 season. He returned to New Orleans on a 10-day contract on February 3rd, 2018. He actually impressed the coaching staff enough on this 10-day deal to be brought onto the team for the remainder of the season, and despite being signed by the Philadelphia 76ers in the following offseason, he would be waived before the season began, ending his career with an appearance on the 2004-2005 All-Rookie team and winning the 2004-2005 Rookie of the Year award. Despite all the obstacles that he faced, you still have to be really proud of this guy. Give him a ton of credit for pushing through that injury and having a solid overall career. From what I could find, Okafor loves cars and he has a wide variety of different collectibles. He's also always going to be known in everybody's mind as a UConn legend. Up at number 3, we had the Chicago Bulls, who were absolutely itching to improve from their 23-59 horrendous season that had just ended. Around this time, the Bulls were really lacking that star talent, in my opinion. The year prior, they were working with Jamal Crawford and Eddie Curry as their best players, and while by no means am I calling those guys scrubs or bad players or anything like that, I really think that they were missing out on having that clear-cut elite #1 option on their roster. So the year prior, the Bulls had just 2 shooting guards on the roster. We had Kendall Gill, who was a fantastic player in his prime, but he was now 35 years old and on his way out the door, and Roger Mason, who just played in 3 games with the Bulls before ending up in Toronto that year. Ben Gordon entered the draft with an elite outside shot, great athletic ability, and he could finish around the hoop. I mean, this guy seemed like he checked all the boxes, and the Bulls selected him with the 3rd overall pick, and he would thrive as a 6th man on this team. In his rookie season, he averaged 15.1 points while shooting an elite 40.5% from 3, leading to a 6th Man of the Year award and a spot on the All-Rookie team. The best season of his career would come in his 3rd year with the Bulls, where he averaged 21.4 points while shooting 41.3% from 3. But even with Gordon going absolutely wild from beyond the arc, it was still somehow not enough for them to make much noise in the postseason. Following the 2008 to 2009 season, Gordon finally got paid on a 5-year, $55 million deal with the Detroit Pistons. This is where he would bounce in and out of the starting lineup during his 3 seasons with the team, and he would unfortunately start to see his usage drop. In the 2012 offseason, Gordon found himself on the Bobcats, where he would play a purely bench role. Then he would find himself on the Magic after being waived by Charlotte, signing a 2-year, $9 million deal, where he would play in 56 games that season, still shooting a very strong 36.1% from 3, but the Magic would waive him from the team that following offseason. He then would sign with the Warriors, but was waived after playing in just 2 preseason games. Gordon ended his career with an appearance on the 2004 to 2005 All-Rookie team and won 6th Man of the Year award. Unfortunately, after his basketball career ended, Gordon would get into a bit of trouble. In 2022, he allegedly punched his son and a security guard in separate instances, and in April of 2023, on his 40th birthday, he was arrested on weapons charges at a Connecticut juice bar. Not really the type of birthday I'm sure he had in mind. Hopefully, for his sake, he gets that all situated out. Now, on the clock at number 4, the Clippers were desperate for a spark following a last place finish in the Western Conference the year prior. Shaun Livingston is another player from this class that would make the tough jump from high school straight to the NBA. But the Clippers really needed a point guard because the year prior they had, let's just call it, a bunch of mediocre point guards at best. Livingston was also coming off a season in which he was named Mr. Basketball of Illinois. The Clippers loved his size for a point guard and took him at number 4, but he struggled to find playing time as a starter, especially in his 2nd season, because the team already featured Sam Cassell at the position. Despite getting off to a slow start in his career, he was just starting to turn things around when tragedy would strike and put Livingston's career at risk. After landing awkwardly after a layup, Livingston would suffer one of the nastiest injuries in NBA history. He dislocated his left kneecap, femur, and tibia, and tore his ACL, PCL, and MCL. This injury was so bad that after he was rushed to the hospital, medical staff seriously considered amputating his leg. He would miss the entirety of the 2007-2008 season, and it would understandably take him some time to return to being able to play on a regular basis. After making the comeback, Livingston would bounce around a ton of different teams. First with the Heat, then the Thunder, Wizards, Bobcats, where he would actually play in a career-high 73 games and was finally feeling fully back from that leg injury, then on to the Bucks, Wizards again, Cavaliers, Nets, and then finally the Golden State Warriors, where he would have the best stretch of his entire career. He was a crucial player coming off the bench and would receive a good amount of playing time in their 5 consecutive trips to the finals. Livingston played a major role in all 3 of the Warriors' titles during this run and would retire following their 5th trip to the finals in the 2018-19 season. Despite suffering one of the worst injuries in NBA history, he was still able to bounce back and have a very successful 14-year career, retiring as a 3-time NBA champion. After retiring, Livingston was named the Warriors team director of players affairs and engagement, but has since moved on from that position to focus on his family and plans to move to Las Vegas full-time. Up next at number 5, we have a very skilled point guard who is probably most known for playing on the Mavericks, but I specifically remember watching a ton of this guy on the New Jersey Nets in the late 2000s. Even though Devin Harris had an amazing scoring ability and was a great defender, the Wizards still had no problem trading him to the Dallas Mavericks. This deal sent Harris, Jerry Stackhouse, and Christian Laettner to the Mavericks, and in return the Wizards received Antoine Jamison and cash. After losing Steve Nash to the Suns, the Mavericks were in need of someone to step up for them at the position, but it wouldn't be Devin Harris right away. He actually struggled to break into the starting lineup throughout his first 2 years in the league due to the team already having Jason Terry at the point guard position. But in the 2006-2007 season, the coaching staff realized Jason Terry actually might be a better fit at the shooting guard position, which then opened up a starting spot for Devin Harris. That didn't last too long though, as he was sent to the Nets in the middle of the following season. Once he was in New Jersey, he remained a starter and had his best stats in the 2008-2009 season. In that year, he averaged 21.3 points, 6.9 assists, and 1.7 steals per game. This would earn him his first and only All-Star appearance. Now, about a season and a half later, Harris found himself on the move once again, this time to the Utah Jazz and then the Atlanta Hawks. In the 2013 offseason, Harris would make his return back to the Dallas Mavericks, where he would spend the following 4.5 seasons. With the Mavericks, Harris would embrace much more of a bench role this time around, serving as a talented backup veteran point guard. Eventually, he would be sent to the Nuggets in a 3-team deal that landed him in Denver, and after finishing out the season with the Nuggets, he returned back once again to the Dallas Mavericks to play in his final NBA season. Overall, he put together a very impressive NBA career, retiring as a one-time All-Star. Unfortunately, he couldn't be a part of that Mavericks team that beat up the Big Three Heat team in 2011 and won the championship. I would have loved to see Devin Harris get one. Now, he's actually focused on enjoying fatherhood and worked with a few Mavs youth summer camps over the past few years. Up next at number 6, we had the Atlanta Hawks looking to get things back on track after a brutal 28-win season. Unfortunately, they would go in the wrong direction, and that wouldn't be the case. They would get even worse and only win 13 entire games. Yikes, to say the least. With Jason Terry leaving Atlanta to join the Mavericks in the 2004 season and Steven Jackson going to Indiana, the Hawks certainly needed to fill the void that they were going to leave behind. But you'll never believe this. The Hawks' top 5 scorers from the 2003 season would all either leave, joining new teams, or end up retiring. Josh Childress seemed like the perfect candidate for this struggling Hawks team in desperate need of an offensive spark, and he was thought of as a very talented all-around player. Their only concern with this game was how much he would turn the ball over. Now, he was still picked at number 6 and broke into the starting lineup in February of his rookie season, averaging 10.1 points and 6 rebounds, which earned him a spot on the 2004-2005 All-Rookie team. His best season with the team would come in his 3rd year in the league, where he averaged 13 points, 6.2 rebounds, and 1.1 steals per game. But after playing out his rookie contract, Childress would leave the NBA, turning down an extension offer from the Atlanta Hawks. He received a 3-year, $20 million deal in Greece, which was actually the equivalent of a $32.5 million NBA contract because of the looser tax laws in that country, and he could also opt out after each year if he really wanted to. Kind of a no-brainer decision there for Childress. After playing for 2 years overseas, Childress made his return to the NBA, signing a 5-year deal with the Phoenix Suns. He mainly came off the bench for the Suns, and after just 2 seasons, he would end up being released. Childress would then bounce from the Nets to the Wizards, and then eventually to the New Orleans Pelicans, where he would finish out his NBA career after playing in just 4 games. After this season, he would return to playing overseas in Australia and Japan. Childress is now the CEO of a real estate development company called Landspire Group, and also an investor. Up 7th were the Phoenix Suns, who traded away what would go on to be an elite defender later on in his career. I wouldn't say the Suns struggled too much though, as they ended up finishing with a record of 62-20 that season, but Luol Deng still would have been a nice pickup for them. Regardless, the Bulls had no problem trading for Deng since they finished with a record of just 23-59 in the previous season. They desperately needed help not only on defense, but also on the offensive side of the ball, which they would get from Ben Gordon, who we talked about earlier, and of course, Luol Deng. The Bulls saw a ton of potential in Deng, and they were very high on his versatility, mid-range jump shot, playmaking ability, scoring ability around the hoop, and of course, his elite perimeter defense. Deng would jump in and out of the starting lineup in his first 2 seasons before finally taking over as a full-time starter in the 2006-2007 season. Early on, he proved himself not only to be talented, but that he had a ton of promise for the future. He averaged 11.7 points and 5.3 rebounds per game in his rookie season, earning him a spot on the All-Rookie team. Deng was a perfect player to fit in Tom Thibodeau's scheme when he took over as the head coach. In that 2010-11 season, Deng would be a crucial part of the Bulls' postseason run to the Eastern Conference Finals. They took down the Pacers in 5 games, Hawks in 6 games, but they would run into the Big Three Miami Heat team in the Eastern Conference Finals. Of course, they did not make things easy for the Heat. However, they certainly lacked the star power to keep up with James, Wade, and Bosh, and they would end up losing in 5 games. Fresh off that loss to Miami, something must have sparked in Luol Deng because he went on a hot stretch for the next 2 years. He made the All-Star game both years, as well as being selected for the All-Defensive team in the 2011-2012 season. After spending nearly a decade with the Bulls, Deng would sign with the Miami Heat in an attempt to replace LeBron James, who made his return to Cleveland. While Deng played his part, it was almost impossible for him to fill that void in the roster that James left. I mean, you're talking about a top 5 player all time here being replaced by Luol Deng. It's just not going to happen. Replaced by almost anybody, it's not going to happen. After 2 years with the Heat, he signed a 4-year, $72 million deal with the Lakers, where he played a much more reduced role. He then went on to sign with the Timberwolves, where he would spend his final season of his career. He came off the bench in almost every game that he played in that season, but he was still a solid bench piece. Despite this, he would decide to retire at the end of the season with an appearance on the All-Rookie team, 2 All-Star appearances, and 1 appearance on the All-Defensive team under his belt. As of 2023, Deng served as an assistant coach for the South Sudan men's national team and as president of the South Sudan Basketball Federation. Up on the clock at pick number 8, we had the Toronto Raptors, and you better believe they wish they had this pick back because it did not pan out nearly the way they hoped. So the Raptors were coming off a year where they won 33 games and lost 49, and it just so happens that that would be their exact record this year as well. They got better on offense, but got much worse on defense, giving up an average of over 100 points per game, which was bottom 5 in the league at that time. They saw an opportunity in Rafael Araújo because of his offensive abilities, rebounding skills, and the passion that he had for the game, but he was just not good at blocking shots. And I know they had Chris Bosh at this time, that he was extremely young, but looking back on things, I think they should have just stuck with him at center for this season at least. Despite knowing the struggles that he had blocking shots, the Raptors still selected him with the 8th overall pick. He struggled badly throughout his 2 seasons with the team, at times barely even seeing the floor because he was playing so badly. During his time in Toronto, he averaged 2.9 points and 3 rebounds per game while shooting 40.3% from the field. In the 2006 offseason, Araújo was traded to the Utah Jazz. Sadly, a change of scenery would not make much of a difference for him at all, and he would only see the court in 28 games, maintaining the averages basically that he had in Toronto. Despite the team's owner expressing hope that he would return to the team after his rookie contract expired, that did not happen, and he was out of the league after only 3 seasons. Up at pick number 9, we had the 76ers, who ended up selecting the longest lasting player that came from this draft class. Just like the Raptors in the previous year, the 76ers would also win 33 games. They were in desperate need of another scoring option because Allen Iverson was absolutely carrying this team with 26.4 points per game the previous year. Even with AI putting the team on his back, they still finished second to last in the league in points per game. They ended up selecting Andre Iguodala with the 9th overall pick, but he wouldn't really turn up the scoring for a couple of years. Instead, the 76ers went out and got Chris Webber from Sacramento, and Iguodala still contributed in many aspects of the game though, averaging 9 points, 5.7 rebounds, 3 assists, and 1.7 steals per game, earning him a spot on the All-Rookie team. But with all those scoring options on the team finally stepping up and holding their own, Iggy thrived on defense, which was huge for the 76ers. In his 3rd year in the league, he took over as the team's leader after Allen Iverson was traded to the Nuggets. In that year, he averaged 18.2 points, 5.7 rebounds, 5.7 assists, and 2 steals per game. In his final year with the 76ers, he would make his first and only All-Star appearance of his career. After spending 1 year with the Nuggets, he would decline a 5-year extension from Denver and take a 4-year, $48 million deal with the Golden State Warriors. And while in Golden State, he took a crucial leadership and mentor role for the team and was credited with aiding in the development of Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green that would go on to be the core of Golden State's dynasty. Head coach Steve Kerr was quoted as saying, "He's one of the main reasons that we've got those 4 banners hanging up. He was a foundational piece of what has been one of the great runs in NBA history." In many ways, Andre set the tone for the whole thing by agreeing to come off the bench in 2014 to 15, really sacrificing and making the move that unlocked that team. Iggy would go on to win the Finals MVP in the first of the 4 championships he would win in Golden State, which was mainly for all the defensive pressure that he put on LeBron throughout that series. After 6 years, 3 titles, and 5 trips to the finals, Iguodala was traded to the Grizzlies, but wasn't a fan of playing for a rebuilding franchise. He wanted to win now while his career was winding down and be a part of a contending team, which is why he ended up on the Heat. The Heat would make the finals in his first year with the team. However, they would come up a bit short to the Los Angeles Lakers, losing the series in 6 games. After 1 more season in Miami, Iguodala would make a return to Golden State, where he would mainly play a bench role. Also, he served mainly as a mentor and a locker room guy. However, he was still a very talented defender. Golden State would win the 4th NBA Finals of their dynasty run, this time taking down the Boston Celtics in 6 games. He would only play in 8 games throughout the 2022-23 season before calling it a career at 39 years old, retiring with 1 All-Star appearance, 4 NBA championships, an appearance on the All-Rookie team, 2 appearances on the All-Defensive team, and won the Finals MVP award once. At pick number 10, the Cavaliers took a player that they would certainly regret after the first few seasons. The Cavs were coming off a draft in which they struck gold, if you can say that, with the number 1 pick in LeBron James, and now they were looking to do that in back-to-back years. They decided to go with Luke Jackson, who actually played the small forward position, which is interesting because LeBron was mostly known for playing small forward on the Cavaliers. They were thinking that Jackson could be a great fit for the team with his elite outside shot and great passing ability, but injuries would soon take a toll on his career, leading to Jackson playing in only 46 games in his first 2 seasons in Cleveland. He never actually started in a single game for Cleveland, and after the 2005 to 2006 season, he was traded to the Boston Celtics, but was waived before the season began. While recovering from an injury, Jackson spent time in the D-League before signing a 10-day contract with the Los Angeles Clippers. Unfortunately, they did not sign him to another contract, but he still found another opportunity that season with the Toronto Raptors on another 10-day deal. Once that 10-day deal was up, he got another 10-day contract from those same Raptors, and ultimately, he would turn it into a 2-year deal. He was waived by the Raptors before the 2007 to 2008 season kicked off, and after spending some more time in the D-League, he would sign with the Miami Heat. This was the final season of his career, and he played in 14 games for Miami, averaging a career-high 5.6 points while shooting 36.7% from 3. After leaving the NBA, Jackson would play some overseas basketball, spend some time coaching the Bushnell men's basketball team, and now appears to work for Emerald Medical Management. Now, if you guys enjoyed this video, all I ask of you, just drop a thumbs up, check out the other content on the channel, and I will catch you in the 2005 Top 10 Draft Picks video. Have a great day.